I'm not gonna lie, this is my third take. I'm still very much bad with technology sometimes, but I'm gonna. I'm sorry if I don't seem as emotional about this and all that, but I just literally spent who knows how long pouring my heart out, and now looking at the fact that it wasn't recording. The second time at least, and the first time was just the mic not being true. I still very much struggle with technology, but it's not about technology what I'm talking about. It's essentially talking about what happened over a year ago, where essentially I went from kind of just having a normal life to being diagnosed with something I didn't even know about, and something I did know about, but I always thought it was like a meme, a joke sort of thing, like an excuse or whatever. But I'm gonna summarize it because again, this is a third take, and the second one, it's kind of upsetting that I had to do a third take on this. But it's more upsetting just the fact of what I had to deal with. In short, I really started to feel this after a Renaissance fair. It's a weird turnaround to say that, but hear me out. That I started to feel like different. That like after what I thought that it was like a food, like a what do you call it, food poisoning, and turned out to be something far worse. Because when I went to talk to a doctor after feeling like hell on a weekend and then being stranded in a campsite for the Renaissance Fair um, for a while and feeling very low energy, I I had it the next day after I rested because I didn't. By the time I got home, I could not do anything. I I like I went to a doctor, just a random doctor. He's like, hey, so I think I have like some symptoms of food poisoning. And like they checked me out, they said like to see my symptoms and all that, and like they said, you know what, you don't really have any of the symptoms, um, and like to be fair, yeah, like I was feeling better than the day before, but I was still feeling something. And they told me just go to this place to get your blood diagnosed, and then they searched it because they thought it might have something with like a liver or something, and then like they said no, we're not finding anything with these like specific tests. And a week later, like a week before, I ended up going to like a doctor a week, a different doctor that they recommended a week later. And even through those days, I still remember just specifically those days, and even um, days before this happened, like where my body would feel stiff, sore, like I could barely move it. It was painful. Um, and I work in a blue collar job, so I thought it maybe has something to do with me overdoing it, me like working too hard, whatever. But that didn't really make sense considering that I had done this sort of work for quite a while, and with time, I should have gotten better at it, should have gotten more tolerable with it. So it shouldn't have been that. Um, and then just really to have those constant moments, and I especially remember changing a pallet and just kneeling down to load it up into to what to a dolly, and just or a pallet jack, and just like being on one knee, like the other knee kind of just kneeling position, just that one knee up, one knee down, and just feeling like I was not able to get up or just stand up, and just somebody looking eyes with me and being like, "Hey, you good?" And I'm just like, "Yeah, just give me a minute." And The next week, even just still feeling like that. But this time, from not even doing anything. Like, because I stayed home because I just couldn't go to work. And I had an appointment. I'm just like, I don't want to deal with this. And on the drive there, I thankfully wasn't behind the wheel, but just um, been given a ride over there and just like struggling to like get out of the car. And even just waiting and being in the waiting room, sitting in a sofa. When my name was called, I struggled to get up. Walking out in the hallway, I struggled. And then seeing my doctor's expression of being like, "Are you okay?" Like literally seeing me walk like that, and just kind of being like, "What's wrong? What? How long have I been feeling all this?" And I'm just like, "I've been feeling it for a while." It was never this often. If I had a day off from work and everything, I wouldn't have felt this. I It would have been a different feeling, but still, just days and days where I just would finish work and just feel tired, feel stiff, and I'm like, not knowing what's happening, and then did a blood test, and they checked other levels, and one day later, they told me like, you need to go to the hospital. Like your levels, specific levels are they're not good. Like the things we measured, like they're out of the loop. They're not in the this like where they're supposed to be, and that literally being the first time I ever went to the hospital as an adult and a patient. Um, and even a busy one at that, or a busy uh, emergency room, and thankfully they put me right away, and we have found a space, and eventually I was admitted for the first time. I'd gone to the hospital as a child before, but that had been like a one-time thing, and that's a whole other thing I'm not really gonna get into, but because it's kind of irrelevant. But just going in and essentially being hooked up, given the IV, all these things. If you've been to a hospital, or if you know somebody that's been to a hospital and you visit them, you know the things. Like a lot of things that were just hooked up to me, and eventually, yeah, they helped to feel me better. Um, and after some tests and some like struggles, and it was just some hesitance to tell some people that I'm in the hospital, not because of any bad will, but just like anything, like I don't want to like impact their lives. I don't want to tell them that, hey, I'm going through this right now. Eventually, being like, this is the right thing to do. They're not gonna be upset that you're in the hospital. Like that's kind of dumb, but you never know. Um, and just being like, yeah, I I wish I would have told you sooner, because yeah. And I'm never gonna forget my friend saying that he was pretty my best friend, I should say, yeah, best friend. Uh, that he was just concerned about me because it's like you're in the ICU, and just an ICU is completely different to a regular room. If hopefully people watching don't have to be don't have that experience, but just as far as where I was, it's glass sliding doors as opposed to like the privacy that you get in a regular like hospital room, because they need to watch out for you. They need to be there. And thankfully, just being admitted or being relocated later on, thankfully, to a normal room saying things are better. But just in that time, just realizing everything that's happening and just like the multiple amount of times, and I had to wait for like the actual doctor in charge of my condition being like, okay, we're gonna do some tests, we're gonna see what's happening with you, and then and like just waiting for that, just like waiting for the news on a new like movie or something. Except this movie is gonna like save my life. And eventually I was diagnosed with a thyroid issue, and oh, that's one of the reasons. And I thought it was gonna be the end of that. I still remember just being happy that my my week of hell essentially was just kind of over. That I'm going home. I went through a lot and hoping that would be the end. And I feel like it wouldn't have been this big of a story if it was just that. Um, it wasn't. Um, it it only took 3 days to kind of just go back. Um, just the emergency room, feeling something else. Um, just multiple instances of like going to the emergency room feeling like something was happening, something bad, just like not feeling well, waking up. Um, going as well to be like to talk to an endocrinologist, a specialist in like my condition, and I've been further diagnosed with something else because I was there for my thyroid, and then just like they told me you have Addison's disease, which is a disease that attacks your cortisol levels. Um, so that's one of the reasons why I was feeling so lethargic, so out of it. Just like a rare instance of all things as well. But that's their words. Um, and like just led to a bunch of other things that kind of just made 2024 a living hell for me. Um, I don't know how many times I went to the hospital, or even more. I don't remember how many times I went to ER for that time because just the stiffness. The stiffness wore off thankfully like after like the first visit to the hospital when that was under control, and then just other things that needed to be taken care of, and even really having my first major operation, and as a 28-year-old who's definitely thankfully made it to 29, but just I just wanted to look back at what happened last year and just, or even just tell you all if I didn't make any content was because of that, because I was in no state mentally, physically. Um, the amount of like tension and everything that was happening that year was not something for me to like really like proceed in doing. Um, yeah, I don't think I've said it in this part, but this was definitely more of a personal video than everything else. Um, I've thankfully taken the steps back again to recently just make more videos. And if you've seen any of the little things that I've been making, just shorts and all that, just to try to make something, yeah, I've been through a little bit of a creative hiatus, just because my brain fog essentially of what to do with the videos and everything. Editing wise, especially considering that I have to edit everything myself. And this video is not going to be edited for sure because this is pretty personal. And not a lot of things I have to keep out of this. No names were given. So, yeah. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what happened in my life 1 year ago. And I'm happy to be here 1 year later. See you later, alligators. Thanks for listening.